Yay. Happy Wednesday. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another Hump Day Happy Chat. Wee-hoo. Hump Day, Hump Day, Hump Day is here. Happy chat, happy chat, happy chat. I don't know what you're seeing outside when you look outside. I'm seeing lots of gray and cloudy ookity-ook. And I actually like gray and cloudy sometimes. Except the only thing is when gray and cloudy happens, what I want to do is be at home and put my feet up and watch movies. Not exactly the most productive thing for me to do, but nonetheless, it's what calls to me on gray and cloudy days. Okay, so now I'm getting my phone and my computer, and good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Hartley Center for Mindfulness and Self-Mastery. I'm Valerie Shepard. I'm your host of the weekly Wednesday Hump Day Happy Chat. Happy, happy, happy. Here we are again for another happy chat. And I'm a self-mastery advisor, expert. My whole focus is on helping you master yourself, this whole beautiful instrument that we are, master yourself in your life so that you can exquisitely manage whatever your life brings your way. Whatever your life brings your way. And at any given moment, I guarantee you, your life is going to be bringing some stuff your way that you might be wondering what on earth it's doing there. Like, what is this doing here? And so self-mastery is the way that you manage the journey, that you walk through it. And that you not only walk through it, not that you get through it. That's not the only thing, right? Not just getting through it, but that you thrive on the way, that you are actually in a place of empowerment, that you are feeling the joy, you are understanding the magnificence that you are, and you're bringing that forward in every moment. Not always the easiest thing to do. And what I discovered in my life was, wow, having a skill set, like a true skill set, like I have for when I played soccer or when I ran hurdles or even coming out of the starting blocks on the track, that's a skill set. I worked on that every single practice, how to come out of the blocks in a way that would help me get to the finish line before the other people in the race. So there are dynamics in our lives that require true skills. And so self-mastery is a development of skill set. It's a development of heart-centered, intuitive ability to be the truth of who you are in every moment. So I write in my book, in the dedication in my book, that raising one's consciousness is the only true way that I know of to create lasting happiness. And so that's what I'm all about. Lasting happiness, true happiness, deep, authentic happiness, meaning it's not predicated on some condition appearing outside of you. So more money, better job, great lover, beautiful car, living in the right place, like all those things are absolutely awesome. And I want those things too. I've always been about having those things. And then I also created a shift where, regardless of those things being there or not, and there have been times when they're there and there have been times when they were not, regardless of that, how am I accessing happiness? And so self-mastery is the way that we create that skill set and that we can fall back on no matter what, no matter what's showing up or who's showing up or not. So thank you very much. I appreciate you joining me. Welcome to this Wednesday's Hump Day Happy Chat. So today's topic is called Yay for Allied Forces. Yay for Allied Forces. So I'm a military child. My father was a United States Marine, a career Marine. He's also this designation, a Mustang Marine. He started uh, as an enlisted man not in officer candidate school or anything like that. He enlisted at age 17 and a half and worked his way up through the ranks and became a captain. And um, shout out to my dad, whose birthday was just last week. My dad's transitioned off the planet now. Um, and I miss him. And I wish he were here. There's stuff going on in my life that I would love to share with him sitting right there and the two of us sharing a crab cake. And Father's Day is coming up, so I'm going to have crab cakes. That's what I used to have at his house when I would go to visit, crab cakes. Um, and it was his father, my grandpop, who uh, we would have every summer crab feast at his house in Baltimore. And we would put brown paper on the tables and buy the crabs fresh, live, steam them, and then dump the pot on the table and corn of the cob, butter dripping down your chin. You know, I'm digressing now, but this is a shout out to my father. And the amount of fun that we had doing that stuff, and skiing in Aspen, and you know, just neat, cool things like that. That I only did, like the skiing was only part of my adult relationship with my father, not my kid relationship. So shout out to that. But it's funny when I talk about allied forces, this is really coming up big for me right now. Allied forces. So, you know, the allied forces of World War II um, were countries who banded together to oppose Nazis or the Axis powers, who opposed those powers and what they were trying to do in the Second World War. So there's one reference to allied. So allied forces are troops or armies. You know, it's really used in this kind of warlike um, setting where forces are banding together to fight a common enemy, a common enemy. And so they are united under some kind of umbrella that says, we are a team, we go forward together. And I've been thinking about that a lot. It's been coming up for me a lot as we've been doing this march around the marches, the protests, and this march toward something known as police reform, policing reform, as there are continued cries and calls and sorrow and demands and angry rhetoric around when is this country going to get its act together and figure out how to deliver the promises made in the Constitution to all of us. To all of us. And I thought about that, and allies are a big part of that. And in my lifetime, when I look at allies, when it's not in necessarily an active war-like environment, right? We all need allies. And in fact, when we look through our lives, we probably will find that we've got a lot of them. And we might need to reframe in order to see that. I didn't always see the people who were my advocates and my allies. I often felt like I was going it alone. I often felt like it was an uphill battle and I was going it alone. And so I wasn't always giving credit to those people who were in my corner, in my camp, and supporting and serving me to be my best and to achieve the most. So I had to shift the way I looked for them and looked at them, like how I actually acknowledged and saw them. So you might need to do that too. But separate from that, I want to talk about allies very specific to the struggle, hundreds of years of struggle that Black people have had in this country for equality. And in my lifetime, when I've heard the conversation about allies, it was very much focused on the white people who were allies for the Black people in the fight. The white people who march with the Black people, the white people who stand up and say, we don't think this is right either. We think this needs to change too. We also are a part of this. And this fight for equal rights and equal treatment under the Constitution and the laws of this country It's absolutely deplorable that we're still talking about this. And we will continue to till it gets fixed. Like, there's a promise. And when I Google um, this whole allyship, what I found was mostly for whites to help blacks. And what I've noticed is difference. Like, I felt that in my experience of my life, growing up in the 60s and seeing that kind of stuff happening. That's the way allies were talked about. What I feel is different now, more than ever before, is I've seen it being acted on as a two-way street, which to me is heartening, which to me there was a point at which some of the allyship felt a little, um, um, the word's not coming to me. Sorry, I sometimes have this aphasia happen. Living with a brain hemorrhage. Okay, let's see. The advocacy sometimes felt like it was like an adult trying to help little children find their way. And Black people are not little children, right? We're adults and we're capable and competent and confident. And so the allyship, it always felt to me that I was seeing these people who were trying to do their good, but they were doing it for reasons that didn't feel completely aligned with what I would be looking for an ally to do. And that feels different this time. Not 100%, and I'm not out there marching the streets. That's not what I'm doing. But there's some essence, some essential nature of this partnership that feels very different this time. Feels very different. And what I'm seeing more than ever before, what I've even been asked to do more than ever before, is for me to be an ally to my white counterparts who want to understand better, who want to go deeper, who want to know not the topics and the situation and me and what my experience has been, but who feel more committed than ever before in my lifetime to know what's their situation, what's their dynamic relative to this issue. What is the stuff going on inside them that has created an enormous blind spot that is now making it difficult for them to really be the ally at the highest consciousness level? And how do they do that? And to me, that's huge. To me, I feel that as a completely different way that this is unfolding at this moment in time. And so an example, like one of my favorite examples, you'll find them posted on my Facebook page. One of my favorite examples in this right now is Emmanuel Acho, who is exquisitely handsome. Yay. And that's not the only reason I'm picking him. He's exquisitely handsome. This former NFL linebacker, played for the Cleveland Browns and the Philadelphia Eagles. He's retired now and working as a Fox Sports One, I think it is. What do you call those people? Analysts. And he played for football in Texas, a big football state. I mean, he is this big African-American, big Black man. And he's started a new show called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. If you scroll through my page, you're going to see them. I encourage and invite you to watch them. Feel his heart, not just listen with your ears. This is what I call ears not necessary, deep listening. Like when you get beyond just your ears and the mental machinations of your mind, just picking up things and churning them around through your mental, intellectual capacity, and you allow things to drop in to the essential nature of you, especially your intuitive soul level wisdom at the heart center of you. When you can do that, when you can hear with this even better than you hear with these, you're really onto something. And I love what he's been doing. And to me, that has now become a really bright, shining example of the two-way street of allyship, of how I, as a Black person, can help you be the white person who is an anti-racist in your rhetoric and in your behavior and in all of your behaviors, right? Not just one, but in how you show up, how you offer feedback and advice to other people, like how you stand in that confident space of, I am taking a stand, how you maybe exit some relationships that aren't serving that aspect of you to be that aspect of you, to be supported, to be served, to be prominent in your life, that you are in it for the long haul, not for the marches of today, but in it for the rest of your life, to be an ally for racial equality and social justice. Like that feels like a bright shining star and where we are called to be in this moment. And as I look through my experience of what's going on, I'm getting those kinds of phone calls. I'm getting the emails and the text messages and the phone calls from people wanting to make sure not only that I'm emotionally okay and physically okay. I'm not going out into marches, not primarily because of the condition of my physical body. In this still recovering from the brain hemorrhage state, I couldn't run away if I needed to. I couldn't run away, so and I can't walk for long distances and stand for long periods of time. That's just not physiologically what I'm here for. So I'm doing my own little stuff behind the scenes more. But this is what's powerful to me, is that people are calling me and I see myself saying, hey, I'll be your ally. And they're saying, oh, great, I need one. And then calling me and asking me, calling me and sharing with me a difficult moment and being real about it and asking how I would have taken that and what am I hearing and how can they do better. And I love that. And so today, as I say, yay for allied forces. The allied forces that I'm talking about are whoever, from whatever walk of life you are, that is standing up for social justice and racial equality. So I don't like to say I'm anti something, as Mother Teresa would say. I won't march against war, but I will show up at a peace rally any day. And that's, I believe, is coming from the understanding of how the world works and the universal spiritual laws. And the law of resistance states whatever you resist persists. So what I'm going to do is be a stand for love and a stand for social justice and a stand for racial equality. And so I'm going to talk in those terms. So I'm also on the board of the Evolutionary Business Council. I've been a founding member since, I don't know, for like 8 years, and now I'm on the board. And this organization has been holding what we call real talk on race, and we hold real talk sessions. And our inaugural session was at our event in January, and we had a real mock focus group, and we had people act out different roles. And then we talked about the dynamics of the situation and how being a part of that, kind of watching the focus group, what that was bringing up. We did some healing work around what was coming up. And we're now having successive real talk sessions. And they're about people sharing and people asking and people giving and people supporting. Why? Because we are each individually leaders in this march. Like, we all have to come together and do the leadership part, our level best. What is the best I can do today? And like I always say, we're not competing with each other. We're not trying to be better than the person standing to the left or to the right, or the person behind us, or the person in front of us. The only person I'm trying to be better than is the person that I was a few minutes ago, yesterday, last week. I'm just committed to being the best me. Hashtag do the best you, people. Do the best you. And if everybody kind of sweeps up the dirt in the front of their house, well, the neighborhood looks pretty darn good. So this thing is all about, how can I bring the best of me and the most of me into this engagement, into this conscious engagement. And this engagement is going to be a difficult one because, well, let me cancel clear that. Beep, beep. This engagement has the potential to be magnificent, and there are dynamics within it that really need focus, right? Because it's going to be the educational system. What are we doing about race there and social justice conversations there? If through the study, the doll test, I encourage you to look that up. The doll test, which was a study that showed, sort of brought the end to Jim Crow, especially in education. Separate but not equal doesn't work. And that at very young ages, both Black and white children internalize the idea that Black people are somehow inferior, less than, less loved, less worthy, etc. That happens at a very young age. So we cannot do this work without going into the educational system and making monumental, massive, sweeping changes there. So the educational system has to be revamped, and the textbooks and all the dynamics of what we teach around race, which isn't even real, in there, and about racism in that idea. And then there are institutions, so the way we police, but also the way we deal with mental health, the way we deal with physiological issues like drug addiction. Like all of those things come into the ideas of social justice and racial equality. And heavens, don't even let me get started on the economic system of this country. So that's not what we're here to talk about. But when you think about allyship in a journey that involves revamping all of that, this is a marathon. And it's more than 26 miles. It could be the rest of my lifetime is what I'm committing to, that I'm in it for the long haul. I encourage and invite you to be in it for the long haul. And building your allies is what's going to help you do it. So yay for allied forces. Let's talk about that. So I've got a few things that I think are key elements of a happy, healthy, whole allyship. So I'm offering these to you in today's Hump Day Happy Chat. Happy, healthy, whole allyship. So number one, key element number one, two together beats anybody going it alone, right? Not rocket science, two minds together. So create a bona fide agreement if you have to. Create an agreement, decide on kind of what I call the rules of engagement. Decide on your rules of engagement. Are you going to meet? Is it just going to be in an emergency situations that I call the other? What is it? How are you going to engage? Are we going to do a book study together? Maybe that would really work for you. Maybe it feels uncomfortable just to call someone and say, can I ask you a question? So maybe you create a situation where you're walking together down a path that includes some things that you're doing. And then consciously engage. Figure out when you're going to do your check-ins, who's going to initiate discussions, who's going to call the other out. Like, you really have to create a bona fide agreement. Otherwise, it's one of those things where, 3 months down the road, you're like, we haven't talked about this in a long time. So when those things happen, you haven't talked about them in a long time, I would say they've moved from front of mind to kind of back of mind, and you're not really cultivating your growth in that area. You're not cultivating the relationship that you started for a particular reason. So this number one element is like, make it real, concrete, and then contribute to it at similar levels from both sides. I've sent my allies, the people who I'm an ally for, I've sent some messages checking in. What's coming up? Let me know when you want to talk. So I think about this when I think about mentorship. So for the longest time, maybe even still to this day, I'm not the best person as the mentee because I feel a little scared about calling my mentor. Like, I don't want to seem too needy. I don't want to ask a stupid question. I don't want to demonstrate that I'm not doing something they already told me to do. Like, I don't want to look bad, right? Anybody else? I don't want to look bad. And I would encourage and invite myself and you, for us to like get beyond that and to let it go. The whole idea of mentorship and allyship is, looking bad is the way we notice that we're not so far along our process, and we get better. So I'd encourage and invite you to do that. And if you don't have an ally, get one. Number two, keep it real. Keep it real. The depth of the um, the height, like how high you can go in your consciousness, is related to how deep you're willing to go inside yourself. How deep you're willing to go inside the ally relationship is exactly what is going to help you rise that relationship to the highest levels, where it's serving both of you. And when it serves you, then you improve and change, and then everything you give to the planet is better. Everything in every situation is better. And that's what the planet needs right now. Awake, alive people contributing the best of themselves to everything they touch. So keep it real, which means your walls come down, your vulnerability goes way up, and authenticity is essential. If you're feeling uncomfortable, you have to say it. If you feel like crying, you have to let the tears go. You have to let them flow. It's just energy trying to move. There's nothing shameful about it. It's just energy. A wave of energy hits you, and then there has to be something. There is a dynamic. Allies work best together where both parties know the other's strengths and the other's weaknesses. Both parties know that about each other. So keeping it real and saying what you're not good at is how your ally helps you get better. If you hide it and try to make out like I got this, you got it all together, well, you're only hurting yourself. Well, that's not true. You're first hurting yourself, and then you're hurting those around you, where your contribution could be up-leveled in favor of social justice and racial equality, but your blind spots are actually still running you because you're unwilling to talk about them. You're unwilling to vulnerably show that you have them. You're unwilling to work with an other to dismantle them. So, element number one, get a buddy, make it a real, authentic, bona fide relationship. Then keep it real. Whatever goes on in that discussion, it's real. You keep it real, you keep it authentic. Number three is about forgiveness. One of my favorite things, I was on a show last night playing in the quantum field, and we were talking about favorite practices, and the one I offered up was around the Ho'oponopono sacred practice of release and forgiveness. And we have got to get better at forgiving ourselves, at healing the spaces in our hearts where we've held contempt for ourselves and for what we did or didn't do right, whatever that is. If it's not serving me and I'm still doing it, I may need help. And I need to get that help and serve myself in compassion and love. So that's another place. The forgiveness has to happen. Forgiveness for the past, forgiveness for our ancestors, forgiveness for the person I was yesterday that I'm committed to not being today, to being better than today. Number four, create a safe word or a safe sign. Like, sometimes you just can't engage. You're full. I can't take any more. I can't have a conversation about that right now. We need to parking lot it. Put it on the parking lot. Please write it down, and let's come back to it. It needs to be all right to do a momentary, not a forever, but a momentary tap out. I'm tapping out. It has to be no harm, no foul. It's okay. And I'm reminded of this when I was younger. My parents had just separated, and my mom was going back to work full time. And we were supposed to call every day at certain times to check in, coming home from school, etc. We were checking in with mom. And mom worked for the Department of Defense. And at any given moment, there was a high-ranking person, major, colonel, sometimes a general, standing at her desk. And she would say, we got to have a safe word. I don't think she called it that, but it was basically that. And so it was if we said the library, or the library is open, and it was usually her. If she said something that had a sentence that had the word the library in it, or the library is open, it basically meant, I can't talk to you right now. There's somebody standing at my desk and I need to go. I will call you back. And so that was the tap out word. That was the safe word. But at least she heard my voice and knew I was home safely from school or cheerleading practice or soccer practice or something. And so you all need to create, what is that safe word for you? Create the space when necessary to not engage. Sometimes you just need to sit and process. Sometimes you need to just feel without a pressure to move somewhere, like just be in it. This past weekend, I took a 3-day respite from social media and I was off the grid. You might have seen some pictures that I posted from being in nature with roses and cacti and a lily pad on a pond and um, just walking around smelling earth. And I needed that. That was my time to just reconnect to myself and to the all that is through nature. And that has to be okay. Tap out and do it when you need it. Number 4 element or number 5 element is you have to do your own work. OWN. Own it. Like, I'm owning this for myself. I'm owning this journey for myself. I'm owning this transformation of myself, by myself, for myself. I'm owning it, right? So that means I don't rely on my ally to kind of poke and prod me. Well, have you read this book? Have you done this? What have you done lately? How are you handling this? It's not up to the ally to create the change in you. The transformation in you, this is self-mastery. The transformation in you comes from you being the catalyst, you saying, I need this. And most importantly, I want this. And even more important to this, I'm in it for the long haul. I'm going to get there. I'm going to do it. I deserve this. And I'm giving it to myself. So own work is about remembering that the allies, not your savior, they're not going to save you. They're also not your indentured servant. Just because you all made an agreement, it's not up to them. This is one of the things that has made Black people incredibly tired over time. And I've felt that fatigue of having to carry others across the finish line. That's not what we're here for now. It's like this has to shift. If I'm going to be an ally to somebody else who wants to understand this whole racial injustice through my eyes or through my heart and through my experiences, that person has to carry themselves. The idea here is that it's 100-100 partnership, not a 50-50 partnership. It's you're bringing 100% of you, I'm bringing 100% of me, and we're coming together to leverage that. So I'm here to guide and provide sage input and feedback. And you're here to also take that feedback, look at what you're doing, try and change it, initiate contact, figure out role plays. What is it that you need? Let's do it together. And you're in it 100% to match my 100%. And then this is my last tip. My last and final tip is keep the main thing the main thing. Keep the main thing the main thing. And the main thing is, always has been, always will be, love. Unconditional love. The love that is the highest vibration, the highest nature underlying everything in the universe. Even when people don't show it, doesn't mean it's not there. When the lights are turned off, there's still electricity flowing through the walls. So love. Remember that you and your ally have stepped out on a journey that involves love, that is about returning the relationship between races, air quotes, because they don't exist, putting that relationship, the relationships back to rightness. Ho'oponopono, set it right. So putting it back to rightness is love. The main thing, loving of the self and for everything that you are, wherever you are, as you continue to work to spiral up your consciousness. Loving the journey, right? We don't have to call it an arduous journey. We just have to keep on the journey. Keep on the journey, bringing the love and light that we are into whatever else is coming up and happening. Love your ally. Love them as they are, where they are, and be a part of the co-collaboration, the co-creation of their risen consciousness, their higher self, evolving and expressing into the world today. Be that for you, be that for them. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. Not just for some, for everyone. And even as we might, as an allied force, come up against a force that wants to move in the different direction, that we can still stand our ground with love in our hearts. If Yeshua can do it, Buddha, Mohammed, all the ascended masters have shown us how to love in spite of. We can do it. So that's it. Another shout out for allied forces. Get you one. Get you some allies. And yay, let's keep it going both ways. Black people being allies to help white people see themselves and do themselves on social justice and racial equality better. And white people who want to support the people of color in the march toward the constitutionally mandated and what should be in our legal system of racial equality. Yay. So I always close the happy chat with the meta prayer. So here we are. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be happy. May all beings awaken to the light of their true nature, that is love, peace, joy, freedom. And may all beings be free. Yay. Thank you so much for joining me. I really encourage and invite you to share this. There are people in the world who would love this perspective, and it may help us on this journey to exactly what we're wanting to create: more peace, love, joy, and freedom on the planet. Thank you so much for being here. Many blessings. Bye now.